Hi, I'm Tony Davis, owner of Aries Pond Boatyard, Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and today's video will be a wrap on our which will now be a four-part series on Catboat Essentials. This is focused on catboats 19 feet and under, not necessarily Aries Pond catboats, but of course these are the boats we're using as our props or models in all four videos. And we thought it would be appropriate to talk about the hauling season, because that's where we're at here. It's September 2025, and we just wrapped up the Newport Boat Show. We just had an incredibly beautiful day sailing on Pleasant Bay, but people are leaving the Cape and it's time to put the boat away. So we walk you through a fairly short video on your options and on how to put the boat away. It's not focused on what the boatyard does, but more focused if you're do the haul out yourself. So it opens with me sailing the boat onto my trailer and then hauling the boat out. I was reminded this summer about how long it's taken to get this series out. I ran into a gentleman on the dock and he stopped me and asked me if I was the person who was in the videos, and I said I was, and he I don't know if he meant to, but he said, "Boy, you sure have aged, and I don't recognize you." And that was tough to take, but in reality, that's true. It's been 7 years, and yeah, there's been a lot of water over the falls in those 7 years, all good, but I can't stop the aging process, so here I am. And wrapping up Catboat Essentials. If anybody has any thoughts on what we could produce to help you with your catboats, send us an email and we'll give it some thought. So enjoy and get your boats put away properly, and look forward to another season coming up in 2026. We have Slippery One here. She's the first of the what we call the trailable racing model. We now have like 4 models of the 14-foot catboat for different uses. This boat was built in 2002. It has many hours on it. It was built for my daughter Brooke, who was running the sailing program here at the time, and it's her boat, and I get to sail it whenever I want and enjoy it so much. In the 4 videos, which starts with rigging, then putting the sail on, and then going out for a sail, and a little tips that I can help you with out on the water sailing the boat. And we are going to conclude the series today with the end of the season and what we need to do to prepare the boat for winter. Well, we'll get started. First thing we want to do is make sure we have our tool bag. And we have our tags to tag anything that we may forget over the winter, especially if you're new to this. You really want to do it. So main halyard, your throat halyard, your peak halyard, and that's pretty much it. But topping lift, but just to help you in the spring to organize the lines, these tags would be very helpful. All right, so we're going to start with taking the sail off, and basically all we need is a pair of pliers, but I've got my full tool bag here, and here we go. So while I'm doing this, winter's approaching. I'm going to go off and do what I do in the winter. The boat's all put away. It's going to be not on my mind, but now is the time, as you're doing this, to look at things the boat needs from wear and tear over the summer of sailing. So throughout this downrigging process, I'm taking notes on things that the boat needs, and I'm going to verbally say those out as we're doing this video. The first thing as I'm unlacing, it comes to my attention, is this bridle for the gaff peak. The splice is really starting to wear. I'm also checking my blocks to make sure that there's no damage to anything over the winter, or that they're not spinning properly. And I'm checking that, and I'm making notes. I'm putting a project list either for over the winter or before I put it in the water in the spring. And that can go right in the boat, that list, or it can go in the computer on a PDF in the computer file, boat file, whatever, however you keep your notes. This sail is going to go out for cleaning. It saw a lot of use this summer. If your sail, especially if you're in fresh water and the sail is new, that means 2 to 3 years old, and it's clean, no real issues, no bird, no salt. All you really need to do is just give it a rinse and let it dry out thoroughly on a sunny day, and then fold it up and put it away. But if you're in a salty environment, the boat gets a lot of use. There's stains from birds, stains from this and that, wear and tear. It's a good idea to have the sail cleaned, properly checked over, all your stitching, your grommets. The sales maker, sales repair shop will do that all for you, and then you'll pick it up, pay a fee of, I don't know, $100 or so, and it's all clean and it's ready to go for the spring. Before I go up to the tack and jaws, I'm going to take my batting bags. That's going to make it easier, and I'm going to leave the battens right in the boat. Sailmaker doesn't need them. And I know the way I operate, if I take them out of the boat, I'll lose them somewhere. We have 3 battens in the 14s, 4 in the 16s. We have 1 reef in the 14s and 2 in the 16s. So now I can go up and disconnect the gooseneck. I'm going to need a pair of pliers. All right, so this is the tack and this is the tack bolt. I've taken the nut off. There's a nut under here. I'm taking that off with my pliers. That, and then I back the nut off here underneath. But what do I see right here that I need to put in my notes? This eye bolt is bent. It's not straight. So I must have been on a run, gusty conditions, and bent that bolt. So that'll have to get replaced. This boat, I will repeat, probably sails almost every day of the summer and then races twice every weekend. So this boat is an example of, and what is it, 23 years old as well. So that's my tack. I'm just going to leave that with the sail. The lacing I tied to one of the grommets. So that's ready to come out when I'm ready to de-rig. I'm still just focused on taking the sail off. This is a traditional gaff jaws. We also make a very nice gaff saddle. The jaws varnishing are going to go on the lift, and I have a crack you see here. So I got to replace this port gaff jaw as well. These probably were replaced maybe 6 years ago. Disconnected that shackle. Now we'll get to the grommets, the soft shackles, which are our hoops. Now, some of you are looking at this saying, I don't have those, and that's because you have the traditional wooden hoops, and they are featured in those earlier videos. And but it's the same sort of idea. You just disconnect on the wooden hoops. You have a male-female bronze fitting that connects, and in this case, it's a soft shackle. So you just go back. I'm going to leave the shackles with the sail, and Jeff, our sail canvas shop guy, will check them over and see if maybe they need replacing as well. For those of you on Pleasant Bay, if you don't know about our sail and canvas shop, Jeff Cabral has been with us for many, many, many years as a rigger, boat builder, and grew up in Bermuda doing canvas work. We built a shop for him, and he basically runs his own little business out of that shop, doing sail repair, sail cleaning, and he's the best. He is the best. Okay, and then we have our peril beads. Everybody's going to have a different version of that, and these are really tight. A lot of wear and tear on these. This stopper knot is frozen. Okay, so we've undone the knot, and that drops down. There's another knot that keeps those peril beads from falling off. You want to check these beads. There should be at least 5. I only have 4, so 1 broke off, so that's going on the to-do list. Otherwise, they look pretty good, but I am missing a couple. 1 anyway. Actually, there's really no rhyme or reason to how many. You want to just fill the area the best you can. The idea is it's just moving smoother on here versus just line chafing here for downwind. And also, while I'm doing this, I'll just remind you, you always want to keep it like a necklace. Never have it tight, because when you peak up, you're just going to snap your gaff jaw. That's in the how to rig video. All right, so sail's coming off. We'll find a clean spot, make sure there's grass, lawn would be great. Check the ground, make sure there's nothing real grease anywhere. I've got my sail folded. I'm going to put that in the truck. So it's going to the loft, or I put it in the sail bag. You may have you did get a sail bag with the boat, so you can stuff it in that. This is the cockpit tent. I'm also going to have that cleaned. This should be cleaned every year. Again, unless you're on fresh water. In a freshwater environment, you can just give it a light scrubbing and let it dry well. But there's a good idea to have the canvas shop look over all your fittings, attaches to the deck, maybe stretched out and be tightened, that sort of thing. Need tightening. That can go in the sail bag. The cushions. In this case, cushions, and some boats have the wood seats, so they may just be noted that they need seat tall or varnish. In this case, I'm going to take the cover off the seat cushion and leave the foam in the boat. Just hauled out, you saw me sail in, and we have our notes on to-do list, so we're going to walk around the entire hull. We're going to look for dings, issues that we just didn't realize happened out on the mooring. Just do a complete visual check. We're going to look at the state of the bottom. It'll probably, in this case, it needs power washing. But we're not going to power wash here at the water's edge, especially if you're in an AC, EC area where we're trying to protect our clean waters. You'll want to tow it somewhere where you're on gravel, higher, away from the water, and wash it so the runoff does not go back into your environment into your here Aries Pond, which is all ACEC protected. So I'm going to walk around. And pretty good. Shake my rudder because these gooseneck, pintles can wear. That's bronze on bronze, and then there's a Teflon bushing here to prevent bronze on bronze. And nope, then down here is bronze on bronze. So that can wear, and you can get some play in it. This is not bad. This has been replaced recently. But if you got a lot of slop, almost twice this, then this lower gudgeon most likely needs to be replaced. Possibly both the pintle and the gudgeon will need to be replaced. This one, upper pintle and gudgeon, typically lasts the life of the boat, unless there's some strange thing happened, or it's use of the tiller. I'm looking at the tiller here, and I'm seeing this needs to be varnished, so that goes on the list. The reason the outside it's pretty obvious why this end gets sunburned, whereas this end looks pretty good. This is under the cover, and this is exposed to the sun all the time. The cover just doesn't come over enough to protect the sun. Teak rails look good, little weathered, so they might get a scrubbing and a cleaning. Varnish combing, crew did over the winter, and that looks good. Although I'll probably add a coat to it. I want to check the chain plate up here on the bow. Make sure it's solid. Nothing's loosened up. These are through bolted. There's 2, and I think 3 on the 16s. And well, on the 16s, 1 screw and 2 bolts. But anyway, they're easily accessible once the mast is out if they need tightening or replacing. Deck hardware, just a visual shake, and nothing's loose. The fasteners are secure. Yep, nice and tight. My bow cleat, all the bolts are tight. This is a critical fitting here. You're riding on the mooring on this cleat. Any sign of wear and tear or loosening, you want to get right on it. All right, so again, so I don't forget, very, very important right here, your centerboard bolt. Aries Pond, all our boats, the centerboard bolt is exposed. It's a stainless 3/4 inch machine screw that goes right through. It's 5 inches. It's 5 inches back and 6 inches high from the bottom of the boat, and that's where the centerboard pivots. What the centerboard pivots are. After about 10 years, you're going to see some. Here you see a lot of rust because I didn't clean it in the spring, but this is new bedding compound that you see here and a new gasket. So it's like a stuffing box, if you know what that is, on a prop shaft. If we tighten this nut with a wrench on the other side, it squeezes this gasket with the compound against the hull and makes it watertight. And if you have any on your centerboard trunk, if you see a drip going down into your gutter or into your bilge, if you have the wooden floorboards, it may be time to just either tighten that just a quarter of a, or less than a quarter of a turn if everything else looks good, or if the gasket shows aging by cracks in the rubber, it's time to replace it. If it's 3 or 4 or 5 years, it should only be a matter of just tightening this a little bit to prevent the water dripping into the bilge. As I tell everyone, this is, if you have water in your boat and you don't know where it's coming from and it's salt, this is the only hole that it could be coming through. When it's sitting on the mooring with no one in it, this is right at the water lines. But it's when people are in it that centerboard pin gets a little deeper and then it can drip. Okay, so the sail is off. We've done a hull inspection. We've done a hardware inspection, not to the rig yet. We're going to do that when it's laying down. But we've checked our hark and cam cleats, our main sheet system, everything's checked, and we've made notes on what repairs may need to be done. So now I'm not going to tag for this video, but it's just an example. If we don't know what a peak halyard is, then we're in a lot of trouble. So, but for you, you know, you may not have done it 100 times or 1,000 times or 3,000 times. So it's a good idea. So I'm just going to write peak halyard and on the line itself. And you'll see that we're not going to pull the halyards out of the blocks, which some boatyards do. We leave everything bundled against the mast and we store it in a storage shed. You store it inside in your garage or in the boat, on the boat. So I'm going to do my bowline. And here, in your boat, you probably just have a single block. This is something I just added for racing, or I shouldn't say racing, but just getting a little bit more flexibility maneuvering the gaff aloft by having the double blocks. But the single block is fine. In other words, this line would run right through. This would just go right on a shackle. Right on the bridle. All right, so with that disconnected, the gaff's kind of got a mind of its own, so I just want to be careful. I'm going to let it set down onto the seat. Now I'm going to let the throat halyard off. And this has a split ring on it, cotter ring. And I'm going to leave the shackle with the gaff. It can go either way. Okay, the gaff is off. Double checking everything. This clapper, it's called, can get damaged. We have this Delrin here. Works nicely against the carbon. Look that over, it's nice and secure. Gaff overall, other than my notes on the gaff jaws and the bridle, looks pretty good. All right, now I'd be tagging this throat halyard just like I did the peak. Do my stopper knot. So that's bundled. Sure. So now I'm going to disconnect. Oh, now I'm going to do the main sheet. Up. And I didn't mention this when I talked about the centerboard pin. You also want to make sure that this lifting pennant, most of the boats have this monkey fist, and you want to make sure this has got some wear and tear on it, but I think I'll put it on the list. Probably should replace this. When in doubt, just do it. Also make sure that the pad eye is secure. This hasn't loosened up. Some of you may have an eye bolt here. Some of you may have it enclosed inside here. So when you lift the boat and spring, because you can't access this because your centerboard is in an enclosed trunk. When you lift the boat in the spring to do the bottom, that's when you check this. For those of you who have the centerboard coming through, then it's obvious you can check this and put it on the list or not, to-do list. All right, the main sheet stays with the boat. It's in good shape. So, I disconnected it already from the end of the boom. And I'm just going to pull it through the blocks. All these blocks get WD-40 on them. Now we're in the spring. This line is really wet, so I'm going to make sure it gets dried out before the boat gets covered. So I'm pulling my gooseneck pin. You can see it's bent, so it's getting replaced. Your gooseneck, this is the older version. The newer version are more stout and rugged. Some of you may have the newer model, which is a stainless with the aluminum boom attachment. But in all cases, it's a similar type of an attachment. Boom crutch out. I'm going to leave that in the boat so it doesn't get misplaced. And I'm going to take the tiller off and then rig. Since I don't have that here, I'm going to put it right up on the truck. We're at the boat yard. Say Slippery 1. So you should all have this mast boot. They're taped on, and that prevents any water coming down. Tape prevents it from going down into the boat. This skirt here rides over this lip here. Waves hitting prevents water from running in. Water will run in. I mean, it's not bulletproof, but it certainly helps. So that'll go in the laundry as well. Then, probably the hardest part of this whole process, you can see these wedges here are pretty beat up because with all the sailing this boat does in the season and the waves and action, they can loosen up. And so I'm hitting them out on the mooring before a race or before a day sail or before a lesson or for a rental, just to make sure. And they do, over time, can get cracks in them. I have a couple down below that I have for spares on board, which you should. And we have plenty of these in stock if you're starting to see the cracking going on and need replacement. So I'm going to loosen the head stay first, then go below and knock these out. Head stays loose. I would recommend taking the sail off. You could take the boom and the gaff off at the dock in the water, but do not unstep the mast in the water. You'll have to just do everything we just did. Now I could haul out and disconnect the head stay on land and pull the mast out. Even if that means waiting, I really don't think it's safe to de-rig the mast in the water. It's just too much of a chance for something to go wrong. But being on solid ground on the trailer, it's a breeze. So you have to go below and you have to knock these wedges out. So you need a piece of wood that you can knock the bottom of the wedge from the inside up. While I'm in here, I'm checking my mast step I'm checking to see that it's secure, no movement, and this looks great. Every boat's a little different. Some have a shelf here with a PVC mast step. Some have these wooden ones. Some have just a mortise right in the glass. So I'm wood on carbon. I'm not making any marks on the mast. And again, if I was doing this in the water, these wedges could go right in the water. All right, they're loose. So I'm going to inventory my wedges. I notice I definitely need a couple new ones. Bundle these together and leave them in the boat. Now we're back to the beginning. Catboat Essentials, video number 1. I don't know how many times I put the mast in, but here we are. Season's over, great season. The mast comes out. So I'm just stand here. If you have an extra person with you, ideally you want that person standing right next on the ground, next to the mast. So as come up, they'll grab the butt of the mast, walk it over straight down. I'm alone. You'll see how light this mast is and what I can do with it. I'm not showing off. I'm just showing how going with a 12-pound mast plus rigging makes this whole operation pretty easy. I come up and I can just, literally one hand, just hold it like that. Yeah, I'm not saying you do it like this. I'm just showing how light it is. But come straight up like we did in Essentials, the carbon. The wooden mast is going to be twice as heavy, so you can't do what I just showed off. Come straight up and straight down. Then you have, which I did over there, but you have your stairs, your steps, and you step down. And in this case, I wouldn't do this with the wooden mast, but because it's the carbon mast, you step down. Put it on my horses, put it on my truck, or if I have travel racks, I'll have set those up, and I'm going to set the mast down on my travel rack. So here's an example of a newer boat that has been put away for winter. Just went through the process we just went through, and the sail went up to the canvas shop and has come back and is in the bag there. And it has the traditional hoops, as you see. And this boat got trailered quite a bit, so it has quick release on the blocks, snap shackles. But you can see the way they're going to store the boat. They put everything in the boat and then and safely secured to the trailer with straps back here. And they've just hauled out, and we've cleaned the interior just where my video ended with the slippery one. Then this boat has this custom cover. You see the travel racks. So here it is with the cover on. The bow still needs to be laced before it's driven and backed in the owner's garage. So that's one option, and we'll move to the next. So another option is to use your cockpit cover to go over the boat and act as a dust cover. These are homemade travel racks by the owner, which are very nice. And so that's just going to act as a dust cover while it's stored inside the garage for the winter. I didn't talk about motors, but obviously they would need to be winterized when your season's over. Our first option was the travel cover, custom travel cover and you can store the boat inside or outside with that. And I would recommend, if it is going to be outside with that expensive travel cover, meaning that you could drive it down the highway and then just store it in the driveway. But I would also put, if it is going to be outside, one of these poly tarps over the canvas cover, the custom cover, to protect that investment. And you should get 10 to 15 years out of it, especially if you use that inexpensive poly cover over it. So then the second one was inside storage. That's the garage or at a boatyard, and then use the cockpit tent as a dust cover. So here, shrink wrap, the last example of storage is we're up in our storage lot here at Aries Pond, and we're looking at a 14. And I wanted to point out, before I talk about shrink wrap, the bottom has been power washed, but there's still residue here. So this boat will get a hard sanding in the spring before the bottom paint is put on, and we'll lift it and lower the centerboard and get at least 2/3 of the centerboard painted. So the only issue with shrink wrap that I have is important to put a vent in it, because you've got wood in the boat, more floorboards, combing, rub rails, and the wood needs to breathe. So if you can cut some vents like you see here, it's really helpful. And every boatyard, or if you do it yourself or you have someone do it, has a different way to build a strong back. That's what gives a 40 or a 12, 15 degree angle to shed snow and rain. One thing I also like to do, which we can see over here on this Caracal 19, is these bump outs here every 3 or 4 feet, and that's taking pressure off the rail, so it's not trapping moisture over the winter, and it's also protecting the all grip finish on the hull. So if there's a real strong windstorm and whatnot, it's not slapping against the wood and the all grip finish, and it's a breather as well. All right, well, Blaze and I want to thank you very much for following us on these videos again, and that concludes the 4-part series on Catboat Essentials. I want to thank my brother-in-law Rory and his son Asa for their help in making this happen, and my daughters Brooke and Sky putting the production together. If anybody has any questions, please contact me at Aries Pond Boatyard. Send me any ideas you might have for another video series that would help you. And lastly, I'll just remind you that everything we did here and in the series does cross over to other designs and bigger, in many cases, bigger catboats up to maybe around 18, 19 feet. All right, well, until next time, sail on.